Today, we're going to be talking about a very controversial topic and confusing topic when it comes to migraine headaches, and that's nutrition. And one of the reasons why it's so confusing is there's so many different opinions on it, and there's so much conflicting advice telling you do one thing or the other. And the way most people are approaching this is they're just trying things and hoping they work. Whether it's because they had a friend who tried something that helped them, or they heard somebody tell them that these certain foods are causing migraines. Whatever it is, the main approach that we have to it is usually, let me try this, see if it works. And that's pretty much the whole strategy behind it. And I get it, because most people at this point have tried a million different things, had no success or very little success. So the temptation to just try something and hope it works, I understand that. But it's not a good strategy. Hoping something works is not generally the way that we're going to end up solving the problem. And although I understand it, it has to stop. We have to actually have a rhyme or reason for why we're trying to do things and the way we're approaching a problem. So if you're watching this video, that means that you're either interested in the topic or I'm working with you directly. That means that your migraines are either entirely or mostly being generated from a mechanical origin, meaning that there's a structural issue that's causing irritation in the nerves and muscles of the neck and shoulders that are generating your migraines. So with that in mind, we want to address those issues with our nutrition. We don't want to be just randomly trying stuff. We want to try stuff that's going to help us solve that particular problem. So our efforts should all be pointed in the same direction. It should be aimed at solving a particular problem, because that's how we're going to do it. We can't just be trying random stuff that's not actually going to help or doesn't make sense for the problem that we have. So an example of this would be, I talk to a lot of people who have tried cutting out foods unsuccessfully. And one of the main ones that people tend to cut out is cheese, or certain specific cheeses. That's a very popular one. It's always advised to people to cut out. And the reason why it's advised is because certain cheeses have this thing called tyrosine in it. And tyrosine, what it can do is when it builds up in your system, it can cause blood vessels to constrict. Now, this may be a viable option if we have vascular migraines or a vascular problem that's causing our migraines. But for us, it doesn't really make a difference. Like, that's not going to help us solve a mechanical issue or address a mechanical problem by affecting how our vascular system's working. Right? So avoiding this is unnecessary and unhelpful for our problem, even though people are doing it. And again, it's just because we're trying things and hoping they work, but for our specific problem, it doesn't actually make sense. Another one that people avoid are nitrites. So that's a lot of processed meats, certain other processed foods. And the reason why people avoid that is because that actually has the opposite effect. That causes blood vessels to dilate. Again, if it's a vascular problem, this might actually be helpful. It might be something that we want to look into. But for a mechanical structural issue, it's just not, it doesn't play a role. It doesn't make sense for us to be eliminating these things when it doesn't actually serve the purpose that we're trying to, it doesn't help us solve the problem we're trying to solve. So let me give you just kind of a goofy example of how this kind of works to help make a little bit more sense. So let's say I was trying to get better at running. So I start a new workout program that's designed to help me get faster running. Maybe at the same time that I start that workout, I just got married and my wife is an amazing cook. So I'm doing these workouts, but I'm also eating a lot more than I used to eat. I end up gaining like 15 or 20 pounds in this first couple months. Now, I might actually improve with my running performance, but it's not going to be as much as I would have improved if I didn't gain 15 or 20 pounds over that time. Another option is I might actually get worse. And at the end of that program, I might conclude that running program didn't actually help me at all. It didn't actually make me any better. when it really did. It's just that my nutrition was not aimed in the same direction. My training and my nutrition were pointed in completely opposite directions. And as a result, I actually got worse. And it's not because my training was wrong, it's because everything wasn't aligned. And that's where things can get confusing. It's understandable to think that something doesn't work if you don't get results from it, but you might have everything pointed not in the same direction, or you're not trying to solve that same problem, right? So if I were to do that program, not gain the weight, I would make much more progress because my nutrition and my training program would have been pointed in the same direction, trying to solve that same problem. And that's the way we want everything to work when we're trying to solve our migraine issues. We want to identify what is the actual issue. And although we're going to develop a program that's based around correcting our structural mechanical issues, whether that's flexibility, strength, mobility, improving all of that, we want all of the other aspects of our lives to kind of converge and help assist us getting better in that area, whether that's sleep, exercise, nutrition, stress. We want all of these things to kind of be pointed in that same direction to help us achieve that goal. So I'm going to show you a way that thinking about our nutrition in a very problem-specific way changes how we're actually going to approach it. So if we took something like caffeine, some people avoid it who do have vascular issues that are causing their migraines because it constricts blood vessels. So they will cut it out completely because it really doesn't matter when you're having it or how much you're having. It's going to always constrict those blood vessels. Now for us, this is still something we want to modify, but for different reasons. Caffeine can have an impact on your sleep. Now that is something that will impact a mechanical issue. It makes us more sensitive to pain. It doesn't let us heal as fast. So it's definitely something that we don't want to be interfered with. But unlike the vascular issue, that doesn't mean that we have to cut it out completely. We just have to use it in a way where it's not going to affect our sleep. So maybe that means moving our caffeine consumption earlier in the day or cutting back on it a little bit. Doesn't mean that it has to be gone completely, but we don't want it to affect the things that are going to cause problems for us. So even within the same chemical, if we're just talking about caffeine, knowing the problem that we're trying to solve even changes how we avoid that. We go from maybe having to cut it out completely to just changing how we're using it. So with that in mind, we're going to take you through a series of topics here that are going to be designed on helping us aid in solving our mechanical issue. So one topic is going to be, what are foods that we want to avoid? So these are going to be foods that affect our sleep, cause inflammation, or make our nerves more sensitive. These are going to be foods that we want to avoid. What are foods that we want to add in? These are going to be anti-inflammatory foods. So it's going to decrease inflammation in our body, make our nerves less sensitive, or get us better sleep. And the other thing that we're going to talk about is actually calories themselves, whether losing weight, gaining weight, or metabolic health, how that affects the mechanical issues that we have too. So we're going to address all of these topics in a very specific way that's designed to solve this particular problem. And honestly, that's the only way that we're ever going to get anywhere. We can't just be trying stuff all over the place. It has to make sense. You have to have a plan, and you have to know the problem you're trying to solve. Otherwise, you'll never solve a problem by accident. You know, somebody might get lucky that they had a food allergy or a food sensitivity, and as soon as they avoid that particular food, that cures all their problems. That's rare, right? And if that was you, you probably would have figured that out by now, right? You've probably tried avoiding a lot of the common things that would do that, and it hasn't magically cured your situation, right? More likely, we have to identify the problem that we have, and we have to put a lot of effort into solving that specific problem. I hope this was helpful. I hope it kind of helps you understand a more logical approach to what you should be doing with your nutrition. and provides a little bit more clarity so everything doesn't seem so random all the time.